Yo, what's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and guys, here we go again. The New York Islanders, they're doing it again. Barry Trotz, a tough start to this season for the New York Islanders, but since then, the New York Islanders, dare I say, are they one of the sleepers right now in the NHL? We'll be going over that today in this video. So, obviously, the start to the season was not great for your New York Islanders. They started the season 0-2, and it wasn't pretty. They lost in Carolina 6-3 in the season opener. They haven't played at home yet, remember that as well. 13-game road trip to start the season. They won't have their first home game till around Thanksgiving. We still got another month here. So you have that, right? You also have the fact that they didn't start off well. They lose that game in Carolina 6-3. Then they go down to Florida to take on the Panthers, and they get an ass whooping in that one. They lose that one, I think it was 6-1, so it was even worse in the second game. Or 6-2, something like that. Something of that ill. And the biggest contributor, in my opinion, at the time was, the Islanders didn't look great. They looked a little lethargic, but, they weren't that bad. Ilya Sorokin was not great. And you look at since that Florida Panthers game. Since that game, he posted an .828 save percentage in that game against the Florida Panthers, right? Where they put up 6 goals, empty netters, whatever, doesn't matter. An .828 save percentage, right? Since then, the Blackhawks game, which he stole for the Islanders, he picks up a .975 save percentage. They win that one in Chicago 4-1. The next game in Columbus wasn't his best outing, but he played good enough. He stopped 29 of 32, but they lose that one in overtime. So they still pick up a point. He has a .906 save percentage in Columbus. And since then, on the West Coast road trip, you would think, shit, the Islanders jet lagged, whatever, this or that. They had any excuse in the world to lose those games in Arizona and Vegas. And what do the Islanders do? Ilya Sorokin, not Sorokin, Sorokin. Ilya Sorokin, back-to-back shutouts, a 26-save shutout against the Coyotes, and a 42-save shutout against the Golden Knights. Really impressive stuff. The Islanders find a way to claw out victories in those games, and all of a sudden, here you are. And the New York Islanders are finding themselves in a very interesting spot. So they start the season 0-2. Since then, in the past 4 games, they have gone 3-0-1 since those first 2 games. And the Islanders are kind of finding their way. They're finding their footing. Their goal differential is 0. They were a -8, I think, after those first 2, or a -6, something like that, after the first 2 games. They have fixed a lot of that since then. And they're now becoming a team that's a little bit of a threat. You give right now you look at third place in the Metro with 9 points is the New York Rangers. The Islanders have 7. Now remember, in context, the Rangers have also played 1 more game than the Islanders. So if the Islanders find a way to pick up a victory this weekend, the Islanders will be tied with third place New York Rangers. Again, it's early enough in the season where you could still find ways to kind of get yourself back into it. But it's going to be tough. I mean, you look at Washington and Carolina through their first 6 and 7 games respectively. Carolina is 6-0, and the Caps are 4-0-3. So they've got 3 losses on the year, but they still picked up points in those games, which makes them have 11 points on the season. That's how today's NHL works. We're gone are the days of making the playoffs with 85 points. You need 90, 95 plus points to make it to the Stanley Cup playoffs in today's NHL because of teams like the Capitals, who find ways early in the season to lose games, but at least to lose them in overtime. And the Islanders are kind of clawing their way back. I mean, New Jersey has come back to earth a little bit. They started the season 2-0. They're now 3-2, so they've lost 2 of their past 3. Again, Jack Hughes, Mackenzie Blackwood hurt. But listen, it helps the Islanders get out of the basement of that division. Columbus has come back to life a little bit as well. They have, they started the season 3-0. They're now 4-2. They've lost 2 of their past 3. So you're starting to see that dynamic shift a little more to what we thought we were going to see. And at this point, the Islanders are making things very interesting. And we talk about, what is the most important position in hockey? You could bring up center, you could bring up right shot defenseman because there aren't that many of them in the market. But let's be honest, goaltending is the number one thing. And you're seeing that right now with the Islanders' success here to start the season, or lack thereof, in the first 2 games. You have a good goalie that's hot, you're going to find ways to pick up points any which way. If you have a goalie that's not great, or at least in a bad spot, talking to you Flyers fans from last season, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That makes a huge difference. It's pretty much you have the starting quarterback in football, and you have your starting goaltender in hockey. And that's it. I mean, you look at who's won the last 2 Stanley Cups. The same team, right? It's Andrei Vasilevsky as the starting goalie, who has been so dominant and so good. And that's been the reason that, Lightning have had their success. Of course, they have great talent and depth all around and good drafting. But this is an Islanders team that some people were quick to throw them under the bus early, and I was a little nervous myself, if I'm going to be honest. They've played a lot of hockey the past 2 seasons. They've gone to the conference finals 2 years in a row, Game 6 and Game 7, but they are giving themselves a chance. They're sticking to the plan, and the Islanders have a little chip on their shoulder. Anders Lee talked to Elliot Friedman this summer, and he was saying, we still have that chip on our shoulder because we haven't accomplished what we want to yet, and everybody's told us that we can't do it. And I think there is that sense for the Islanders, and I think you're seeing that kind of take form. And this is a team that does struggle out of the gate. I mean, listen, let's be honest. We always talk about this, especially in the first month or 2 of the season, how high the scoring is in the games, right? The Islanders aren't a team that's going to outscore you. So as a team that definitely when they win games, doesn't outscore the other team because they just keep just beating them up and it's all open ice, that doesn't play into the way the Islanders want to play. A much more structured defensive game where they kind of just, like a snake, like a boa constrictor, kind of wrap themselves around your neck and just slowly suffocate you. You can't do that when you have back and forth hockey on both sides of the rink. And we definitely saw that in the Blue Jackets game where Laine got the OT winner. The Jackets, one of their defenders, I don't even know if it was a forward or not, but he didn't have a stick. It was basically a 3-on-2 for the Islanders. They couldn't execute, couldn't score the goal. Comes back the other way, and Laine puts it in. And the Islanders, when you get caught in that race, the Islanders don't win those games. But that's what happens usually in the first month and a half of the season. So the fact that the Islanders were able to survive those first 2 games, not hang their head too much, get over it, play in Chicago. That Blackhawks game was kind of the turning point for the Islanders. Now, obviously, we know the Blackhawks aren't that great this year, but at the time, those Blackhawks, they were up against the corner, kind of hissing in the corner, realizing they needed a win. They were pretty desperate. And the Islanders found a way to pull through on the road. And now 6 games. Guys, they're almost halfway through this road trip. You're 3-2-1. If you find a way, let's just say if they find a way to pick up another 5 out of a possible, 8 games? If they find a way to win 5 of the next 8 going into their home opener. Okay, let's say 4 of the next 7, right? You're still above 500 at that point. You're 7, what would that be? Something in that ballpark, right? 7. Let's say if they pick up another 2 games where they lose in overtime or a shootout, again, you're asking for a lot there, but in this Metro, you kind of need it. The Islanders just need to find a way to pick up points. Like, even that Blue Jackets game, perfect example. I mean, obviously, the Islanders should have won that game in regulation. And that's the other thing, too. When you lose games like that in your division, those are points that you're giving up and you're giving to a potential competitor. So, if you lose that game in regulation against the Blue Jackets, that's a 4-point swing. Because the Islanders lost that in overtime, it's only a 3-point. But still, it is a 3-point swing. And if you look at that right now, that's the difference between the Islanders and the Blue Jackets for 4th in that division. So it's one of those things, it seems like it's not a big deal, but listen, at the end of the day, whether it's game 6 of the season or it's game 82 of the season, all those points count the same. It's 2 points for a win 1 point for an overtime or a shootout loss, and 0 points for a big fat L during regulation. And no team really wants to see any of those regulation losses right now in the season, especially the Islanders. But we saw something interesting with the San Jose Sharks last year, where they played a crazy road trip to start the season. It kind of seemed like a good bonding thing for the team. They were playing well, didn't have those distractions at home bothering them, it seemed like, off ice. But then they came home and they kind of just let go of themselves, and everything that they had built up on the road, all that capital, I guess you could say, and all that comfort went away very quickly when they struggled at home. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you think of the New York Islanders to start this season? What do you guys, I didn't talk about them much. What do you guys think of Oliver Wahlstrom, Noah Dobson? Their developments this year have been incredible, making Lou Lamoriello look good at that draft. And the Islanders, man, they are a team to watch right now. And their record doesn't look great. It's a little ugly at 3-2-1. But if you watch the recent play, the past 4 games, they are 3-0-1 since those first 2 games of the season. So, let me know what you guys think. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, bigger subscribe. Make sure to check out our Streamlabs shop. Guys, that'll be down in the description down below. I will see you again next time. Let's go, Islanders.